Greetings, loved ones. Let's take a journey.
The last few months of my life have been ruined by the horrific implications of the California Girls music video. It all started on November 28th, when I decided to re-listen to this childhood classic just for a bop. However, what I saw on that day has fundamentally changed me as a person. So the music video starts with the image of the box of the Candyfornia board game, a game so unbelievably popular they invented a place called California in its honour. The box indicates firstly that this game is intended for ages 3+, but it also posits its main sort of theme and rule to play. You must face the Sugar Daddy's dice to free the Queens of Candyfornia. It also introduces us to two of our main characters, Snoop Dogg, who is presumed to be a nefarious sugar daddy, and Katy Perry, who one assumes to be the leader of the Queens of Candyfornia. In the first 2 seconds of the video, the whole plot is revealed in essence. Snoop Dogg is an evil being, and we must roll the dice to defeat him with the help of the esteemed Ms. Perry. However, this whole concept gets flipped on its head as we see the sugar daddy at the head of this board game before placing down Candyfornia's head monarch on the board. To me, this indicates that Snoop Dogg, he's playing the game, clearly, which poses many questions. Chief among them, why is he playing a game that directly works against him? This also underlines Snoop Dogg's power in this universe. He directly controls the actions of Perry, who believes she's operating under free will throughout the game. She believes that she is choosing to free the Queens of Candyfornia, but if she is being controlled by the sugar daddy to do this, the very nature of her existence is called into question. It's also worth noting there's a castle displayed prominently on the board right here. Remember this for later. We then get into the real happenings of the song. Perry sings,
"I know a place where the grass is really greener."
Presumably this refers to California. This indicates that she has some form of sentience, as she is aware of places outside the domain of Candyfornia, her board game. However, as we know, she is a piece in a board game played by Snoop Dogg. How could she know this information as just an inanimate piece that can only explore Candyfornia? Could one argue that Candyfornia is the same as California? Considering the board has no affordable housing, this could be possible. Perry then makes her way across the board further to meet the minor antagonists of the story, the gummy bears. They have little presence here, yes, but their existence is worth noting. However, we then get the question of free will posited again. The sugar daddy rolls his dice, which typically denotes the amount of spaces that one can move in a game, but we do see that Perry is moving whilst the dice are rolling, and that she also comes across a Queen of Candyfornia trapped in a bubblegum bubble, which she inevitably bursts with a high heel. This calls into question the ideas of free will again, and whether the sugar daddy actually has any control over Perry's movements. Are these dice being rolled similar to like in D&D, for example, to see if she can burst the bubble? Or does Snoop Dogg have no power here? It's hard to say. We're then made aware of more of the perilous ecosystem of Candyfornia. Whilst we're already aware of the existence of the savage gummy bears, we're now introduced to the trees, which appear to be a sort of candy cane. However, these candy trees are in fact candy snakes, which come alive when touched. We also see that just before this, Snoop Dogg rolls again, which potentially gives more credence to the idea that his dice work more like D&D dice. Perry then climbs a tree, which is not a snake, to the candy floss clouds, which arguably represent the most damaged part of this ecosystem. Ignoring the cauterized tree, we see that Perry can in fact lie on these clouds without falling through. This would indicate an incredibly dense and heavy cloud. Perhaps it had not candy rained in Candyfornia for a while, which could also explain the anger of the native species. She's also peculiarly decided that when she is above the cloud, and therefore meteorologically speaking in a much sort of colder place, she does not feel the need to be wearing any clothing, a sartorial choice I strongly disagree with. Perry then appears to be travelling a badlands of Candyfornia, or as we call it, Los Candiles. She adequately balances across the beam over Chocolate Death, well done Katie, before carrying on with her adventure. We do, however, see the sugar daddy singing along to Perry's lyrics here.
West Coast represent.
After all, West Coast must represent. This further questions his power as well as presence in Candyfornia. Snoop Dogg then rolls again, potentially causing Perry to spin. However, she then meets another Candyfornian queen, stuck alive and sentient inside a cube of jelly. This is genuinely a horrific concept, to be paralysed from a cube that you cannot escape from. Luckily, Perry is on hand to break her out. Good for you, Perry. And she seems to have no immediate need for oxygen or indeed lasting trauma from this event. After all, California girls are fine, fresh and fierce. Perry then starts to gather sweets, but the sugar daddy snaps his fingers, which causes her to drop them, which further cements his power that has seemed somewhat questionable so far. Fortunately for Perry, Her newfound allies can now help her stick a heart onto a gingerbread man, thereby forming a friendship. However, the fierceness of these girls should have been a warning for the gingerbread man, who is promptly eaten alive by Perry et al., who even rip his eye out when he is still alive. He remains happy in death, however. The girls then continue to make their way across the board, rescuing another Candyfornia queen who should at this point died of suffocation. With her army intact, Perry reaches her final destination, the castle we saw earlier. Her army have a pleasant little dance outside it, which attracts the attention of the sugar daddy. Snoop Dogg then has a rap, in which he seems to be amicable with the Candyfornia queens. This indicates an element of sort of a time jump, as he has been directly antagonistic towards them throughout, especially due to his presumed involvement with their imprisonment. A popsicle dies, and the sugar daddy proclaims Katie to be his lady.
Katie, my lady.
We then head back in time to before this rap section, where we see Snoop Dogg exit the castle. This is the part that has confused scholars for a decade. The sugar daddy is clearly playing a game in which he's evidently larger and on a level above Katy Perry, yet he exits the castle in the game, which is represented larger in real life, but he's in the game. Either we have a sort of a TARDIS castle on our hands, or there's a sort of deeper element at play. Could it be that there's several tiers of sugar daddy, and Snoop has sent a sort of a lower incarnation of himself out to fight? Is this the same one? Has he shrunk himself onto the board? Does this imply a larger Snoop, a larger Perry growing infinitely larger as he cannot escape the confines of their own game? Besides his existentialism, Snoop Dogg has a gummy bear army, as was foreshadowed with the earlier shots in the music video. This leads to a standoff with the Candyfornia Queens, who utilise the concept of Deus Ex Machina with the whipped cream breast guns to defeat the Force. While the concept of whipped cream breast guns is one to debate, what cannot be misconstrued are Perry's expressions while she is using them. This is the face of pure glee, someone who is having the time of their life. We see that Snoop Dogg's force has been entirely obliterated with himself being spared, whilst Perry is smiling on like a madwoman. He then surrenders to the Queens, gets buried in the sand, and has a lovely little dance, to be fair. However, this only brings more questions about the future of the board game to light. Who is the sugar daddy now? Can the game be played again? Can we all be California girls? Ultimately, however, Perry et al. Evidently forgives Snoop Dogg for imprisoning them in jelly, suffocating them in plastic wrap, and then trying to fight them with an army, and they appear to get on well as friends afterwards. In a way, this video represents the incredible power of forgiveness, therefore, and how you can fix anything with love, determination, and care for your fellow queens. Anything except, of course, California.